Hello, everyone. I want to coin this episode, or in a sense, I guess, title this episode, How to, in a sense, let the sacred grow. I don't know how to explain this, but I guess I will begin from here. It all begins with a sense of allowance in how you perceive your relationships and how you choose to blend. It is always a moment and its energy. And so when you become aware of energy, and once you have passed through many definitions, you come to the value of experience. The fact that one can have direct experience means the fact that one can ask directly their questions right from God. In other words, if you believe in a God or not, there is the greater observance of us and our unimaginable collectivity. You see, it is to increase the quality of experience for actually the human experience. Because life does create illusions which confuse us. When you have found your center, guys, it's a place where you know. So in other words, it's as if like you suddenly go back home for a bit and you realize, oh, okay, that's how it's like, and then you come back. You see, everyone has a certain level of knowing on how they feel they know how to be alive and how to utilize their consciousness. But I am suggesting that now mankind the plane is ready. We just need to take off. What that means is that we must suddenly accept all ideas as equal. In other words, before human beings have any other transitory way of communicating, there is the idea of a purposeful walk. Some point throughout your life, something is going to call to you. There's going to be a longing within you, and if you're sensitive, you catch on to it quick and you follow it. What that means is, outside any plan that you have organized or read about, there's this inner calling. There's that voice that tells you to take the path less traveled by. And when you do, you recognize you are letting go of yourself, but also letting go to find a greater sense of yourself as well. So a journey is a powerful instrument, for a journey is equal in infinite potential, if regardless whether your focus is through a grass or your focus is through yourself. You see, your immediate self is the story in which you're trying to uncover more knowing. And you see, at some point, your knowing becomes a sound you've always heard and you know how to listen to. And you just have not been acknowledging. So, guys, simple acknowledgements about how amazing the human being is just to understand that you have value in regards to what you can potentially do. So we want great potential among our vision. And to perhaps find truth. Always having been there. Guys, this is a very amazing feeling, and I don't know how to describe. But you see, it's up to you to decide to respond to your inner calling. What that means is that nobody has your vision, and after you've looked around the world, there is a sense of you that has a certain direction. You have a certain interest. Follow that interest. Take your steps in this life and let each step unravel a new world. And in a sense, that means be aware, guys. Make it exciting for yourself to know answers to questions nobody's ever asked. Or, in a sense, people have asked, but nobody, in a sense, remembers for some reason. Our memories, even following them, leads us to an integrative collective intelligence, which our reality is. Guys, I want you to see that you may sit on the grass and you may meditate and you may see that the fact that you're standing here, you're there, but trust me, there's a potential to experience more than your immediate space, into seeing that your immediate space unravels into every other space, and to let yourself be guided. In other words, guys, I want you to suddenly see that you have dropped all your fears and you're just this comfortable being here who has a very perfect and calm sense of living and harmony. But I want you to even see more than that, the fact that what would the human being do after you've reached the peak human experience? You would want to experience that which is greater. So in other words, you guys, what you perceive out of this world based on how you're conditioned is really creating your sense of value. So when you look at what's creating your sense of value, it's that story which is most aligned to your core, and it needs to be aligned to your core. In other words, if you have an image of yourself, know that image beyond like colors. We are very capable of allowing life to communicate back to us. Life belongs to an open being. What that means is that it is you who decides how you welcome the raindrops on your face, which is really what's happening to me right now. There's raindrops hitting my face. Very odd feeling. But to continue on, it is poetic, and you need to be playful with life, but at the same time understand the beautiful presence of structure. In other words, do not avoid the other end of the spectrum, because what you dislike is another part of your brain which you need to also learn how to use. In other words, you need to see structure within the fluidity of potential. And to begin saying sentences that you could have said from no one. In other words, begin speaking ideas that no one has spoken, and speak it well, because that is what is valuable to passing on. Because I see a lot of my heroes, for example, let's say anyone, okay? Let's say hearing them talk suggests so much about their life that when you listen to a man's voice, you're learning how other men are alive like this. It's very insane. So your consciousness is not limited to your definition of what a body should be. You see, body flexibility works best when you remember. What that means is you suddenly see that the presence creating an invincible you is based on the ability of the creative allowance that you can do that. In other words, you need to think about what allowance means, and you need to see that just like how you don't allow, let's say, an ant to remain, or pass or whatever, or you don't let it, you mess around with nature, you mess around with animals, you find yourself superior. Trust me, there are presences, and this is not a fictional, it's not an imaginal thing. It's just another, I don't know how to say it, but there are higher directives to our presence. And what that means is that you see that once you are becoming more observant of your surroundings, you begin to remember who you are, and who you are was never just the limitation that you sought before in the human experience. So it is in a sense your attention being so much on the unknown that the unknown is speaking through you, and the fact that you knew it all along, and you realize that time and space are in a sense just signs that are blending into the same thing. Reality is constructed through many ideas, and in a sense reality is layered in that way. But we need to see that there is an inner calling, guys. Never lose the sense of exploration within yourself. And what that means is that if let's say suddenly you are walking throughout your day, I'm gonna scale this down a bit. Let's say throughout your whole day you're walking, right? And you begin your whole day, and let's say you're offered some things throughout your day. Let's say someone gives you a free ticket, a free ride, or whatever, right? And how would I say it? It's like you'd notice that. So you see, guys, communication is the process of constantly giving us so many images of so many different changes that we observe the screen. So we are aware that there's a screen, and we're aware that we are the observer. But now that you're an observer, you need to re-look at that same pattern. In other words, when you suddenly find within yourself that, oh my God, I am God. I am one, I am everything. And what that means is that it's not insane, it's the fact that one human has found his level of attention to life so sensitive that he's seeing the beautiful value in everything. In other words, no longer these ideas had to mean the same thing. In other words, it's a freedom from idea. And it's a freedom from conditioning. So in other words, imagine like you're very messing, you suddenly jump into a pool and you come out and it's another fresh sensation, right? So understand that the excitement is valuable. Excitement is, perhaps one could even say, can be the most interesting use of animal instinct. What that means is that, you see, a part of us is very animalistic and we are made of it. And so we're trying to be organized. Pretty much that's what human beings are doing. They're the animals trying to be organized. And these animals that are being organized have created very thick organizations. But at the same time, intelligence behaves differently. In other words, man has a bit lost and in a sense fears his relationship with the unknown and with the unseen. And this is not an easy thing for me to say, but all I can suggest is that it's not that afraid. I mean, get a more realer sense from it. In other words, like, look at the truth and look at the core of it and see, who do you see speaking? Who do you see talking? Who do you see your voice being a part of? And you see that what I imply is that we are in a certain level of observing a certain relationship of duality in our reality. In other words, we're looking at duality. And when we look at duality, we, in a sense, begin to see that we are the moment that is perceiving duality. We see that we are also existent there, and that there is consuming everything. In other words, we are that which is aware. All this stuff, all this meaningfulness is continuing. But what one comes to find is that when life takes you to a corner where you are lost and you have no idea how to get home, when you don't know anything, when you fall down and, in a sense, as a human being and as an idea, crumble in front of existence, you see that is when one has a longing. It's as if you're not dead, but just the caterpillar always was just waiting to become the butterfly, because the butterfly was always flying. You see, deep thought is a natural process, and you must let your intuition guide you, because there's a reason you have a certain instinct and guidance. In other words, guys, first pay your attention, and with utmost awareness, sensitivity, care, and compassion, observe what you are as something existing, as the human form. And see that you have every reason to be comfortable with any experience you have. So in other words, do not no longer judge yourself with shapes, with ideas, with concepts that are blends of other people's voices. We are all human beings who choose to hold names that become prophets for all the changing names. In other words, guys, you need to experience your life and its progress, and that is both a combination of static experiences and dynamic experiences and your different moments. So in other words, guys, when you see the whole picture, it doesn't matter how closely you had to see, let's say, the corner of the painting. See the whole picture means that you are comfortable with the knowing of where you're going. In other words, the attention is important. So what is your attention on? Is your attention on a game? If it feels like a game, I say relook at what your attention is on. Constantly observe your presence and see what that means to you. And eventually you shall see that first let's say, I'll say this like this, because a lot of Westerners approaches that, presence. In other words, I go in a room and it's all, it's so connected, and everyone just feels like I'm an avatar on the guru. No, it's not like that. It's just the fact that you are being guided by the unknown, because your certainty has been absorbed through the known and is now going through a more wondrous agenda. So what that means is that you see how your body is moving, and you see what purpose and mission and, in a sense, the idea of contact means to you. Because, guys, you are simply an imagination that is running a vehicle for a moment that is omniscient. You become that omniscient moment when you recognize that the separation was not all of it. There was more. And so what I feel is being lost is man is being made to completely understand dogma. He does not understand it, but what happens to when someone who understands dogma, when you say something out of that dogma, they begin to bark. They're like, what? Truth is not that. Truth is this. Bark, 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 bark. They just bark. And what that means is that you realize that it's in a sense an animalistic side, because when people communicate, you should be empty. So if someone comes here, let's say I'm sitting right now in a crowd, and someone comes there and he's like, the apocalypse is happening, it's the end of the world right now. It's going to happen. And it's real, imagine. And so many people will be like, oh no, so many people will automatically go in shock. But someone who is aware of where life is going will be like, no man, it's not an apocalypse. The concept of an apocalypse is simply your attention on ideas which you are allowing yourself to continue. So in other words, when the apocalypse is happening, I'm not going to think about bad ideas. I'm actually going to think about good ideas. Do you know what I mean? Work with your unknown intelligence. It's a sense of wittiness that you have when you have perceived your greatest potential, guys. You'll be comfortable, man. In other words, like when you know that the train is going to go to the last station and you're sitting on it, it's okay regardless of how sleepy you feel you are. In other words, once you feel life guiding you, your moments are increasing in value and excitement in every instant. And you are in a sense found to be, again, maybe rejected by your own wisdom. In other words, guys, people must get comfortable with first rejecting themselves, and at the same time having and seeing there's no reason to see rejection. You see, your language is important because some people who are scientists, they wonder what the purpose of life is after they have sold people on being machines. And they realize it's not a machine. It's about the creative process, and the creative process is the origin of the awareness that even brings a mind from man to even create. We must progress, and we must look at many views to see that we are born to shine in our own way. You need to find your light. You need to find that calling within yourself that is just in its own unique way, it's calling to you. In other words, it's a very exciting thing. And it's not a desire. A desire is something else. You know what I mean? A calling, when you feel... So guys, I think I can talk a lot about what intuition perhaps can be in a very subtle way. And what that means is that I can tell you that life is directed by you plus life. In other words, life, you're not just the one guiding yourself through this process. Life is also guiding you with it. And you might be like, whoa, Mr. Within, what does that mean? I mean, what does your name mean? And you see, it's simply an explanation that those people who ask questions which they feel they don't have answers to and they need to have, are in a sense not ready because you need to let go of the past. Guys, in this society, you need to understand that you need to totally be aware of your past and make decisions to learn from it and behave differently. Everyone has a new chance. You always have a chance, guys. Please, I don't want any human being, guys. It doesn't make sense. Don't lose hope, because what hope is, in a sense, is your own ambition. So in other words, don't lose hope means stay true to yourself. And that is what I am telling yourself to do, guys, because I want to tell you, your spiritual process is not from just the guru. It's not just from me talking to you. I just want to make you more sensitive to what life is in this sense. And it's very crazy how to say it, but look at yourself comfortably, move and progress, and directly see yourself evolving into your greatest version. You're now your greatest version. Continue on, because now you have observed your past and you're now your greater version. This greater version of you continues on reliving that old life of you, which you couldn't do anything. In other words, you're seeing suddenly, you're having the experience of all the joys you thought you were missing, or all the tragedies you thought you were avoiding. In other words, once you really look at the different colors in life, and you need to do this, you suddenly, it's as if once you're at a certain awareness, your calling will call to you. Your intuition, this inner sense of knowing, and wisdom will help you out, man. And you need to find this natural intuitive wisdom that is present through life kind of guiding you with the conditions it's putting you in. In other words, acknowledge your greater presence within all of life. In other words, allow yourself to envision and perceive not your shadow, but how you are the light that even shines a platform for form to be created. So, some people, guys, I'll tell you, ask questions from different stages of progression. And what I mean is that, let's say in a more philosophical way, how would I say it? Many people ask the question that, what is life? And their answers come from their senses and their immediate agreements and just these solid frameworks. And they understand it to be that. But when you look at the nature of the human being, we are presences that are seeking a unified playground of infinite possibility. In other words, every human being wants to be playful with one another and very compassionate and kind, to the degree that there is a higher sensitivity to communications of life to man. So I want you to please understand this. Your intuition is very important because it guides you towards the content that, in a sense, frees you. So what that means is that trust in the life process you're in, trust in the moment, and trust that regardless of what decision you make, when you hear that inner calling, that sense of knowing that is telling you, okay, now is the time to go do those things I'm meant here to come and do, you'll realize life is guiding you. In other words, your energy is, in a sense, all-knowing because it's being directed by this stream. In other words, consciousness is not limited to its separation. It actually uses separation to understand how to, I guess, become a better painter. I want people to think about what ambition means and what divine ambition means. And this is a crazy concept, because divine ambition is simply a reach that ambition of man is going for. So what I mean is that, guys, you need to see everything is evolving. And so every idea, even our highest and greatest truth of God, after we've said it to the whole world, it's constantly evolving. This is why I talk about how all my writings are in a sense from a broken philosophy, because at the end of the writing, after you've read all my information, all my words, I'm just saying, close the book, you don't need it anymore, now go do, go be, go find that intelligence, find that calling. In other words, what I mean is that don't be afraid that your imagination has to only be tuned to what is the commonality and has been for years. In other words, it's okay to see different symbols of life, different views, different approaches. Because, guys, it's not about the approach, it's not about comparing ideas. You're wasting your time if you're comparing things or you're judging things, because you're stopping. You're simply creating a distraction within a distraction, and you don't want to do that, because that's extremely distracting. So let my voice be a gentle breeze, and in a sense, close your eyes and just find it out, man. It's just there. You just feel it, you know. But you need to also see that I'm someone who is talking about the sensitivity of experience. What that means is I'm not talking about how to, in a sense, I am simply presenting wisdom that opens up one's awareness to their own presence. And this is essential at this time. It's like, it's the greatest help you can give to someone, to make them perceive that they are always able, because they're always able to observe. And you know, it's important to have very personal, I guess you need to always listen to your impulses, instincts. In other words, let's say if I'm somewhere with people, it's always good for me to, in a sense, sit down, quiet my mind, and perceive why existential design does not just belong to our eyes design. So I am the person who is simply questioning. A question never really asked in these times, in these recent years, you know. And it is actually asked, but it's in a sense, man is connected to all existence. It's an inner calling. It is your intuition, okay? And I don't know what that means, but I guess in a sense, you who believe there is a truth beyond you, it is important for you to carry yourself with the knowing of your greater observance. So there is you right now here, and you are a certain design, and you may have no name for it, but trust me, if it's objectifiable, if it can be an object, then my friends, we are playing with idols. Never play with idols. In other words, even though they say, "Oh, I wish I had the youth of a kid," you don't need to play with toys if you don't need to. Honesty means you always giving yourself the direct route to your best moment of experience. That's what honesty is. It's you can always do it. You can always find that ability you thought you didn't have. And it comes to you only when you're kind, guys. Because trust me, if you're kind, if you're always helping people, trust me, life will help you so much. And that's abundance, guys, trust me. Because I go through many selfless states and I help many people when I can. And I just random help. And what I do, because I'm not judging it, I am giving very selflessly, and it's a very opening energy. In other words, I'm really helping someone throughout the day. And what that means is that my level of insight is proportional to my attention and excitement in the moment. I want to tell you that in this life, I think the best thing that one can do is to remember who they are and then walk towards that song they've always heard. We all have a destination which only we can see, and we must follow through. Be comfortable with every action. And trust me, life will be comfortable with you. Thank you.